Welcome back to the second half of the Bobby Dupree Show, and so that I make sure I get to pay my assistant here, Andrew Gitros, my sidekick here.
Get my hat in here.
And we covered a lot, but we have a lot to cover. We need to get really rolling right away. Thanks for viewing, and thanks for telling a friend. And let's not forget that you can listen to it on the radio, you can watch it and listen to it on your cable televisions, and if you're locally in Opelousas, immediate Opelousas area, you can watch it on rabbit ears or on old time, as long as you have digital.
Or let KDCG do the recording for you. It's up on the website archive, so you can watch it at your own leisure.
On the computer.
Yeah, leisure or leisure? I like leisure. It sounds more sophisticated.
Oh yeah, you're trying to be a big shot from Port Barry. No, from Palmetto, Louisiana. Let me get that straight. That's right.
I went to Port Barry too, though. I'll claim Port Barry as well. We got some obituaries this week. I saw Mr. Larry Fournier passed away, who I guess retired with the school board, had been a carpenter for years and did a lot of the work around the school board. Want to send our condolences to the family. And of course, I knew him through the IFBS Lodge, would see him around that whole operation there. And of course, I knew two of his brothers, St. Ange Fournier, and of course, Mr. Howard Fournier, who's so active at St. Landry Catholic Church, retired with the Ag Department, did a bunch of the federal work with
Right, I knew the whole family. Good people. I describe them as living out on Highway 31, not far from Malcolm Lalonde's home. How about that? And they all know and like Malcolm Lalonde. He cuts up with all of them. And then there's several other. Jerry Doucette, well-known person who ended up, if I recall correctly, with eyesight problem. Maybe had lost his eyesight a number of years ago. And of course, his wife survives him, Irene, and his son, Paul, who I know, and I don't know Drew Doucette, I'm sorry, I don't know him, or Deborah Johnson, medical doctor of Lafayette. Jerry was very, very active in the cattle industry for many, many years. And his daddy had an unusual name, Kossuth. And he was one of the strong supporters of DJ, better known as Cat Doucette, the former sheriff. And they go way back, and I guess maybe somewhere back there, since Doucette's, maybe they were related. I'm not sure about that part. And another person who died, and I don't know him, but of course I know his mom and daddy, and that's Mary and Manning Wartell. And I'm speaking of Edward Blair Wartell, who died last Saturday, a couple of Saturdays ago, August the 6th, at the age of 50 years old. My deepest sympathies to the family. I haven't seen either one personally, but Mary and I go back to Opelousas High School, and then Manny and I go back to some college days.
Now, she was a Bradley?
She was a Bradley. John Ed Bradley's, that would be her nephew. That would be her nephew. Another person who passed away, and maybe met him once or twice, and that's John Foray. Of course, they originally from Ville Platte. He was originally from Ville Platte. Went to work with Union National Life Insurance Company, became a district manager, worked there many, many years, and later got to working with Bob Sebastian, Benny Desertel, his own brother Kenneth Foray, who lives here in Opelousas. I was able to offer my sympathies to Kenneth. I saw him over at the Elks Lodge. And of course, he's survived by his wife of 51 years, Betty Robery Foray. And when you say Robery, you're talking about the Grand Prairie, Ville Platte, the Washington area there. Our deepest sympathies to the family. And I got a call today from a young man that I've known for a number of years, Shane Dupree, to let me know that his father, John Allen, had died, John Allen Dupree. And I said, well, I just read it in the newspaper and plan on announcing it. I knew John real well, real nice, white type fella, had his own business. He was in the amusement coin operated business, jukeboxes,
cigarette machines, I'm
cigarettes,
sure.
Probably early on, and pool tables and that type. always nice, but always very, very quiet and kind of distinguished like himself. My deepest sympathies to the family. I understand that, and Shane didn't tell me this, but I think he was diagnosed with cancer rather recently, and his death came upon him pretty quickly.
Benny's Supermarket. Go get your groceries in downtown Annapolis at Mr. Benny's Supermarket. Best of the best produce. Go and try out the great selection of imported beers back in the back. Blake's Brew House. You can buy, if you don't want to buy a 6-pack and you want to try something, kind of experiment, you can build your 6-pack. Just buy a little sample of all kind of different beers. And they got all those exotic imports, even the one from Orneville, Louisiana. Right? That's imported all the way from Orneville.
Highway 31.
Highway 31 beers. So they import them from Germany or from Orneville. I mean, that's the full range of the world from there. But go by Mr. Benny's, the great meat department, and they got seafood there as well. Huge wine selection. You can go get deli food 7 days a week, huge home cooked style meals and the big old dinners. You want to get a little salad, they got that as well. They also do catering for your events. If you want to just go pick up a tray of something already done, they do that. If you want to have them come out in the white coats, from weddings to parties, funeral type things, they can do all the food for those type of events as well. Don't forget Little Benny's Sports Shack over at Benny's Supermarket.
Speaking of the Elks Lodge, last week we reminded Elks members that on Tuesday night, this past Tuesday night, there would be a discussion and a possible vote on the possible relocation of the Elks Lodge building downtown to the property that's known as the Toby's Little Lodge property on Highway 182 South, a little over 3 acres and a nice big large building. Quite a discussion took place last night. Lee Worley, I understand, did a real good job of explaining how he felt, he and a committee felt about how they could utilize the building and possibly also hold some functions there, because it's used as a
multi-purpose facility.
Multi-purpose facility. And I understand a nice turnout, very good discussion, and the vote was overwhelming in favor of buying the building. But now the next step, of course, is getting the National Elks Lodge to come by, look at the proposition, look at the property, and they have to agree that it's a good move on our local Elks Lodge. And so we want to thank everybody that participated, and we'll try to keep you posted on how that particular project moves along. It would be a big, big move, and one of the big things, of course, is the additional parking that would exist here compared to where we are now. We're very fortunate. Dr. Ortigo is happy to let us use when his office is not in operation. He gives us his whole parking lot across the street. Jim Lopez and all that group, the firm, as I refer to them, they certainly don't mind us parking after hours. And Bordeaux Motors, we kind of park on their side of the building, and they are very receptive.
And with the move, it might work out good for us after we film the show on Wednesdays. We could just walk to the Elks if they move.
You know, I hadn't even thought of that.
You hadn't? My goodness.
And I can walk, I can cut across.
You could cut across from your house.
The way Chin did the day that he sank my snapper lawnmower in the pond. He ran through the backyards of some people back there.
And come right through.
And he ran over to Kingsley Veltan, his old boss and dear friend. He says, Kingsley says, "You out of breath. What is wrong? You seem like you've been running." He says, "I dropped Mr. Bobby's snapper in the pond." Well, he says, "What can I do?" He says, "Doesn't he have a small tractor over there?" He said, "Yeah." Well, my suggestion would be that he's in New Orleans on the way home. You said, "Yeah, that's what they told me." Well, I would try to get that snapper
out of there fast.
Out of there fast. And I did. And I ended up giving it to Nick Facuri. He had it cleaned up, and I guess he used it for a number of years. But Chen, good morning to you, young man. We had a lot of fun with you.
Carl's Thrifty Way. While we're on the south side of Opelousas, go by Carl's Thrifty Way to get your medicinal needs. They can fill all your prescriptions, over the counter or behind the counter. They can do it all. If you're looking at getting your medicines filled and you got problems taking some of those medicines, their pharmacists will sit down and listen to you and compound it, maybe make it easy for you to take. You know, it's too dry, it's too big. They can do things to help you out. You know, things that you get in a rush and you don't think you can ask. Your neighborhood pharmacy like Carl's can handle all that kind of stuff. They got a great gift shop and home decorating area. They even do home decorating type ideas as well. They'll go to your house, get some ideas like for holidays are coming up. A lot of people do a lot of entertaining. They'll do all kind of work for you there, and free gift wrapping and monogramming is available too at Carl's.
Last night after the coaches supper and meeting, and let's do that. Yeah, then I'll talk about.
Let's go to the sunset. We always got to have a sunset.
Got to have a sunset.
Right.
There's a couple of them.
Were you at Opelousas?
I was in Opelousas, yes.
And then you went to the coaches annual meeting.
Annual meeting, and that's Donnie Perron, who is the athletic director
for the whole parish.
Whole parish, yes.
And we see it a little blurry, but we got Freddie Herpin with the Daily World was there to cover it.
Along with our own Matt LeBlanc
from KDCG. Now go ahead
television.
And tell your story.
Well, I'll tell you what the story is. We just want to name a few people.
Show some of the video we have from the...
And this is just scoping the whole place real quick, and I'll be talking. Donnie Perron welcomed the group. Bill Duplichamp, principal at Port Barry, led us in the pledge and prayer. Bobby Dupre was the MC. I was the MC, as I have been for 12. Superintendent, yes. Some of the coaches, and Dr. Johnson over at Opelousas High. I'm speaking to, I don't know, well, we're not going to...
Joe Bear, the Eunice crowd?
Yep, Joe Fred Gotcho, my longtime partner, and he attends every year. He's a strong believer of the public school system in St. Leonard Parish.
Coach
as Donnie, there's Bill. He led us in the pledge and prayer. And our superintendent of schools, Mike Nassif from Palmetto, Louisiana. Yes, Mr. Trosclair from Opelousas, coaching in Eunice. And assisting us.
Coach Mistrick from Port Barry.
Coach Mistrick, and the gentleman before that was Jody Leger. And this young man is Anthony Hicks. And this young man is Darnell Lee, not Darrell. I called him Darrell, but it's Darnell. And Larry Dautrieve is back in Opelousas at Opelousas High. And the actual Jamboree kickoff will take place on in Port Barry, by the way, for the first time. It's going to be held at the Port Barry Field on August 26th, not this Friday, but next Friday. And each team plays 2 halves of 10 minutes per half. So I suggested that they prepare for a quick start and an early, fast ending, because it doesn't last long. You can't make too many errors, or else you're going to be on the low end of the score. It's a fun thing. And of course, one of the features of our annual kickoff supper is the delicious food prepared by the Eunice chefs. Phil Leonards, Cliff Broussard, Ronnie Clavier, Randy Topher, Howard Hogruder, and Leewood LaFleur, and assisted by several other individuals, I might add.
Kessler will see on the other side of 3.
And then we had some... Also, we had in attendance, we had Harry Frugier, Quincy Richard, Scott Richard, and Raymond Casimir,
from the school board members.
School board members in attendance. So
excellent.
It was well attended, and I had cut the mic off, then I cut it back on. I said, I have one more thing to add. There was no talking during the speaking of the coaches and all. We've had, on a few occasions, we had a little noise in the back. You know what I mean? They get disinterested or whatever. But I complimented them. There was none of that last night. And, you know, that's what they're teaching to their kids on behavior. So y'all were well behaved, and I thank you. And I'm looking forward to next year's event.
You go. How about this at New News over in Orneville at the Frederick Stage there on Highway 93, and you go to Old Singleton Barn there. They're going to have Walter Mouton and Jason Fraud Sunday afternoon, August 28th at 2 p.m. $5 for adults, kids 12 and under come in free. BYOB, and it's going to be Walter Mouton Jr. that's going to play.
I went over to Bo's Bar and Grill after the supper to visit with some of the guys from the Elks Lodge, but they didn't show up. Well, one did, but I got